Pardon me. I get asked all the time about the tools that I use, so I thought I'd go through my basic spoon carving kit and talk about the tools that I use every day. There are lots of people who kind of collect tools, you know, they have a bunch of different axes and different knives and things. I'm not one of those people. I tend to find a tool that works and I'll stick with that. So I'm not in the best place to compare, say, one axe to another or one knife to another. So this isn't so much of a review or comparison, just me talking through the tools that I use every day, share my thoughts on them and tell you what I like about them. So starting with my axe, this is a carving axe made by Julia Kalthoff, who is a Swedish toolmaker, blacksmith and toolmaker. Comes in with this nice leather sheath, and it comes as sharp as you could wish a blade to be. The weight is about 550 grams for the head, I think, which is a good weight. It's light enough that you can spend an extended period of time axing out spoons, things like that, but it's also heavy enough that it works for bigger things like bowls. Great shape for a carving axe, a nice curved blade, and I found the handle is a really nice shape, easy to hold at the bottom for bigger swings, and then higher up it's comfortable for your sort of more accurate work. I previously used a Brooks Swedish carving axe. I think that's the design, the sort of big carving axe, which is really too heavy for spoon carving, unless you got muscles like Mike Tyson. It's just a bit too much and it takes its toll on your body. So this is probably almost half the weight, and I've gotten so much better with this, and I find I can just carve all day with it basically. I think currently there's a waiting list a couple of months long, but I'll put a link to Julia's website in the description of the video, so go and check it out. I'm really happy with this axe. Next is the straight knife, or the Sloyd knife, which is going to be instantly recognisable to most spoon carvers as the Mora 106. I forget the different names of the Moras, but there's a shorter version. Could be the 120, or maybe I'm mixing that up with another one. But I find the 106 is much more versatile with the longer blade, and I've been using this knife for 5 years, and I've got no reason to look for any other knife right now. I'd say value for money, they're excellent. Last I checked they were about £20, something like that. They might have gone up since then. Again, they come perfectly sharp and ready to go. I made a couple of modifications, so I've carved some facets on the handle because I find it a bit nicer to grip, and I've also put a hollow grind on the blade, which I then sharpen a sort of flat over hollow grind, and I find that's the sort of best combination of effective carving and ease of sharpening. I've actually never used another carving knife. I know there's lots out there, but like I said, this works perfectly well for me, and I've got no reason to go elsewhere at the moment. Most online stores that sell woodworking tools will stock these, so just Google Mora 106 and you'll find them. They normally come with a plastic sheath, but I've made this little woven sheath out of some cherry bark, just because it looks a bit nicer. When it comes to spoon knives or crook knives, I have tried a few different designs and a few different brands, and the one that I've settled on, that is my daily user for the last few years, is this Fawcett blade by Nick Westerman. Now, Nick Westerman's knives aren't the easiest to get these days. Last I checked, there's about an 18-month to 2-year waiting list. So I probably wouldn't recommend these knives to people just starting out, just simply because you're not going to be able to get hold of one. But the reason I love this knife is I find the shape really nice and versatile for shallower spoons. You've got this lower section, and for deeper and smaller spoons like scoops and things, I'll use this section. It has a hollow grind on the inside, which makes sharpening so easy. I usually roll up a piece of wet and dry sandpaper, and I can just run it along the sort of rails either side of the hollow grind, and it means that I don't kind of tip to one side or the other side and round off the bevels, which is really easy to do on knives that don't have this kind of hollow in the middle. His blades come blade only, so you have to put the handle on yourself, which is a really good exercise, and it means you can tailor it exactly how you like it. I tend to prefer slightly longer than, if you compare it to the Mora handle, which is the same handle you'll get on Mora spoon knives. I prefer it slightly longer so you can hold it at the end and get a bit more torque, and then kind of chunky in the middle, so when I'm doing your sort of potato peeler cut, it works really nicely. I'll put a link to Nick's website in the description of the video, and I'd say if you want to get one of his knives, get yourself on the waiting list post haste. I've also made this box for it, which isn't totally necessary, but it's a fun little activity, and it makes me happy. If you would like to know how to make a box like this, Zed from Zed Outdoors has published a video with Lee Stoffer where he goes through loads of different sheaths for spoon knives and how to make them. So I'll put a link to Zed's videos in the description. So those are really the 3 tools that you need for spoon carving. If you've got an axe, a straight knife and a spoon knife, then you're good to go. But there are a couple of other tools that I use that just make the job a little bit easier, especially when I'm sort of working in production mode and I'm trying to knock out big batches of spoons. And one of my more recent purchases to go along with the spoon mill that I've been using is this Drawknife, which I found for especially some of the bigger and some of the longer designs that I carve has been so useful. Being able to use 2 hands has taken some of the load off my carving arm and my wrist, and made especially things like cooking spoons and serving spoons, some of the longer designs, a lot more easy and practical to carve. So this one's made by Sean Hellman, who is based in the UK, and the reason I bought this one, I shopped around a little bit, and the reason I ended up buying this one is partly for the size. It's not a huge long one like someone who's making chairs or something like that would be using, so it's perfect for spoons, but also if I did want to make something a bit bigger, it would be okay dealing with that job. Also for the Nick Westerman knife, it's got a hollow grind on the back side, which makes the sharpening really easy. Again, I can just lay my a block with some wet and dry sandpaper on, lay it across the rails, and I can keep it nice and flat, and it means I'm not going to curve this bevel on the back. This is the only draw knife I've ever used, so how it compares to others I don't know, but what I will say is I'm really happy with it, and I couldn't be without it anymore. I use it all the time on all of my spoons, even the smaller ones, and it's now sort of an indispensable part of my kit. You also have the option of this wooden sheath, which is just a really nice way of keeping it safe, protecting the blade, and it's really sort of easy to take on and off, and I've painted it green. So I'll put a link to Sean's website in the description of the video. Please go and check him out. He's a very well respected member of the spoon carving and green woodworking community. He's not just a tool maker, he's a very skilled woodworker as well, and well worth checking out his work. So saw is really useful, obviously for cutting down bits of wood to the right length, and also for cutting stop cuts into the neck. You can use an axe for these jobs, but a saw I just find much more efficient. This is a Japanese pull saw, which means it cuts on the pull stroke and not the push. It's a double-sided blade. They're not all double-sided, but this one is. So you've got the cross-cut blade on one side, and the blade on the other side is for ripping down the grain. It's not a particularly expensive one, this. I'm sure, as with any tool, you can pay more and get better quality, but this one works for me. It's a, I don't even know the brand, it's rubbed off. I bought it from eBay. There's loads of choice. It was about 25 to 30 pounds. And it's a really, really useful tool to have. So I hope you found that useful. Next episode will be a Q&A. So any questions you have about anything you want to ask me, stick them in the comments and I'll answer as many as I can. And that should be out in not too long. So hopefully I'll see you then. Bye.